Hi again everybody, welcome to tutorial 2. So what we're going to be doing in this tutorial is something very similar to the first one. So here's our Extract 2 footage that you've got from Moodle. So I'm going to bring this across into my project bin. There we go. And then just like before, we're going to drag this down onto the new composition symbol. And there we are. Now, this is slightly different because in this bit of footage, we've got two X's, as you can see. And they're separated by this line. And what I've tried to do with this is try to replicate something that might sort of rotate and get bigger at the same time. So what I'm trying to replicate here, try and imagine this as being a person's eyes, so separated across the front of their face maybe. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to track their eyes. And the person is moving their head from side to side, and also the camera is, well, they're approaching the camera because the camera's not moving because we're not tracking the camera at this point. So we are literally just saying this is a person, they're moving their head from side to side and they are approaching the camera. So look, you can see what's happening. They are moving their head to the left, then to the right, and then all the time they're getting slightly closer to the camera. So what we want to do is we want something which is going to both rotate and also get bigger with their movement. Okay. So just like we did before, we're going to get our tracker up. So my tracker's in here. There we go. Remember, if you can't find it, window tracker. Okay, and we're going to highlight our footage and we're going to track motion. But unlike last time when we just left it on position, now what we're going to do is we're going to be tracking the rotation because we know that this is rotating, and we're also going to be tracking scale because we know that this thing gets bigger. And what that's done is it's given us two tracking points, not just one, because it's going to look at both tracking points and how they play off against one another in order to try and understand both the scale, because one assumes that as they get further apart, the object is going to be getting bigger. That's what we're telling it. And also, as these tracking points move up and down, then obviously that's going to account for some rotation. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. So remember, it's the wheel on your mouse or expand on your trackpad. Remember not to click the edges of the tracker, but click in the middle. So you get that symbol with the four-way arrow there next to it. So if you click on the end, you see you don't get that, or in the middle, you don't get that. So we're going to click on in the middle of the tracker, pick it up, move it over to our X, just like we did before. However, because we know that this, if we move it on a little bit, we know that this X is actually rotating as well. It's not just moving and floating and staying the same, it's actually rotating. I'm going to have to say to my tracker, you need to look a bit wider to find the information that you'll to find this pixel, because this X is going to look different, and so you're going to need to be able to sort of look wider to find it. So I'm going to bring my tracking out. This is going to slow the computer down because it's looking at a much larger area in order to find that tracking point, and of course it's also having to do it twice. So you'll find that this will run more slowly than the previous track, I would expect. But so we're going to make this nice and big so that the X is rotating within it, and then there we go. So I'm going to pull it back, so that's what it looks like at the moment. And now what we're going to do is, because it's still black X's on a white background, I'm reasonably confident that it's going to track well. So I'm just going to click the Analyze Forward button, making sure that my playhead is at the beginning of the clip. Okay, so I'm now going to click Analyze Forward, and I'll wind it on for you and join you again in a minute. Okay, so that's not looking too bad. If we track it back through, we can see that it's looking pretty consistent. I mean, I think if we zoom in, what we'll find that actually it's obviously moved away from the pixel that we'd asked it to kind of track. It's got a bit lost somewhere, hasn't it? And I think in situations like this, you've got to make a judgment call. It's not necessarily a problem if what you're doing is just something like this, like we're going to be doing, which is adding some text. Then at least it'll be consistent. So at least it'll kind of it should just work consistently, and you won't necessarily notice it. However, if it has to be very precise, let's say for example on this imaginary face that we've been tracking, you were tracking like a different you wanted to put a different eye color on somebody's eye, for example, and the tracking goes off. Obviously you're going to notice that because the color is going to start to slip, so you'd have to get that very precise. So what you can do is, if you zoom in, I've zoomed right in now, holding down my space bar, you can see each of these frames. Look, now because this has been quite a consistent, it's been on this particular frame for a long time. I know that that one isn't going to be the best thing to start off with, because there's probably going to be about 25, 30 of that particular frame there for me to pick up on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my playhead marker back until my object goes to a frame that I can see, and I can say, right, you're not meant to be there. You're close, but you're not meant to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this frame up and I'm going to drag it back down onto the point that I want. And now I can click forward. You can either analyze it forward, or you can just do it frame by frame to be clear. And you can click forward and say, no, 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 I want you to be there, right? And so you can start to click forward and analyze forward. Now it's going to go, oh, right, that's where you want me to be. Okay, I can see that. Okay, and so I think it's probably got it now. So now I can analyze forward. And it'll go, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Okay, you want me to be there? Got you. Thanks for helping me out. You know, in fact, actually, it's still kind of slightly missed it, but it's you know, it's getting there, isn't it? Okay, so you could do that, and obviously you can move along and get all those frames correct. And then I can come back and I can do the same in the other direction. So this is the one where it's got lost. So I can come back to this one and do the same. So that's the one I moved. So I can track it backwards by hand like so, and you can see that now these frames are jumping back into place where I want them to be. See that? But I think just for the purposes of this tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that as it was, because there we go. That's it. Oh, no, wrong, too far. Redo track motion. There we go. So I'm going to leave it as it was just for the purposes of this tutorial. If you want to tidy yours up, then please do. It's entirely up to you. But for the purposes of this tutorial now, what I'm now going to do is the same as I did before. So layer, new, null object. So there's our null. And now here's my tracker with my position, rotation, and scale all tracked. I'm going to edit my target, null1, and I'm going to click apply X and Y. And OK. So just like before now, I've got my null attached to this. This is the primary, because this was tracker 1, so this is the primary null. But you should hopefully see as we move through that that null now rotates with the X and will also get bigger as the X's expand. So it seems it's coming towards us. Yeah. So again, what we can do now, close that null up. I can go up to my text. I can click over here. I've gone green this time, so I'm going to write test like so, just like I did before. Move that around so I can position that there. And now if I pick up my pick whip, remember the pick whip, and connect that to my null1. Now, if you watch as I play it through, my test ought to rotate, and it also should get bigger consistently with the X's that I've just tracked. Okay. So it should be now moving in, well, not just commensurate, it should be exactly the same movement as the X's that I've just tracked. So you can see the difference there. It's rotating, it's getting bigger, and so on and so on. Okay, so I won't block out the X with the white like we did last time, because that was just to show you that that was possible. Okay, so that's the end of this tutorial. So that's tracking motion with rotation and scale. You don't have to use both of them together. You can use scale independently or rotation independently, entirely up to you, you know, whatever it is that you're tracking. But I think that's, hopefully that'll sort of make sense. And now we can move on to trying to track something a bit more ambitious. Nice one.